Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and greetings to all persons in different parts of the world, different time zones. So I can't say morning because it's afternoon and evening for some. And let me start by thanking NOM for that vote of confidence in the Caribbean water sector and the resilience of the Caribbean people. We tend to share that opinion, and we hope certainly that we'll demonstrate it this time. Just in terms of orientation, and this is also to remind persons where we are so that you can keep us in mind and hope to visit the region as soon as possible. This is the Caribbean here. I'm speaking to you from Grenada down at the bottom here. I'm the president of CAWASA, an organization of basically 12 utilities in 11 countries along, generally more on the Eastern Caribbean, but we also include Cayman Islands over here. CWWA, Wayne is the president of CWWA, the executive director, sorry, and of course, a wider membership of professionals. The CAWASA, quickly, as I said, we represent 12 utilities, 11 of the countries: Antigua, Barbados, British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Turks and Caicos. So this is an association of utilities, not individual professional members. The region, as and Stuart almost could have completed the Caribbean perspective, because what applies to the rest of the world and the challenges that we expect were adequately covered by Stuart in the beginning. At the broader level, you have the Caribbean community, the heads of government. They have been meeting and looking at ways of engaging the international financial institutions on matters related to debt restructuring, debt forgiveness, stimulus packages, etc. So it's being handled. The challenges for the region are being handled at the CARICOM level. If I drill on a little bit, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, for those of you not familiar, we have a common currency among the countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. That doesn't include Barbados, it doesn't include Jamaica, it doesn't include Trinidad. Those have their own central banks and their own currencies. The ECCU, of which Grenada and most of the CAWASA countries are members, we're expecting a 5 to 7% decline in real terms. We were initially projected to grow by 3.3% at the beginning of the year. Tourism accounts for up to 90% of some of the islands. And a lot of the member governments have announced a form of stimulus package. When I see the package as offered in the UK and the US, what Stuart put up there, I certainly can tell you what is being floated is fractions of that, and for obvious reasons: affordability, capacity, reality, etc. So while the concept of stimulus packages is the same, the ability to assist is certainly significantly limited compared to what some of the more developed countries are able to do. What's happening with COVID? Well, the water utilities generally have to continue to operate. We're exempt from a lot of the emergency curfews, etc., because the service has to continue. Some aspects of the services are curtailed, and they're curtailed in part because the movement in the rest of the country is curtailed. So in the Grenada context, we put a hold on things like new connections and ancillary services, but your mains, your treatment, we put a stop on the projects, but generally the organization has to continue. As was mentioned, the region is taking a significant hit in the tourism sector. Basically, all the hotels are closed. No flows, no revenues. Offshore universities are affected. In the Grenada context, our offshore university accounts for in the region of 25% of our GDP. That again is a major hit, and all the spin-off businesses that are operating as a result of that major investment. The restaurants are closed. Now you have an increase in residential flows. Persons are home, we were saying informally here that we're having 7 Sundays. Sundays is normally the day when everybody's at home in our culture, doing all their house chores. Water demand is highest. In a sense, everybody's home every day. They're looking for things to do. They're washing things that they haven't washed in a year. So we're seeing that usage pattern becoming a challenge. The online payments are minimal. Most persons have not caught on to that technology yet. I'll speak to that a little bit later on. We have, we've all, more, I shouldn't say we all, a lot of us have suspended disconnection activities, and that is a political consideration. The reality in this time is that, there has to be preservation of life and livelihood. And certainly, I don't think persons will really be prudent to be disconnecting supplies, certainly in the peak of this. It, of course, brings to the fore the strategy for getting your revenue and your cash flow back on track. That is what the management of the utilities have to do. We've expended significantly in procurement of safety supplies, masks, sanitizers, all part of the new culture. Increased operational costs, the truckage of water. I'll speak to the seasonality soon. And as I said, we've suspended major projects. The climate. Right now, we normally every year have tourists, and we have 2 challenges with the climate, which are not going to go away because of COVID. So COVID is superimposed for us on top of our normal annual challenges. The first challenge is the usual part, the dry season. So as I said earlier on, there's increased trucking now because we're in the midst of the dry season. Some islands have serious shortfalls. The Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology suggests that for this next quarter, there will be reduced water availability due to a persistent long-term drought. Some islands are affected differently. Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, expected to, as of April 1st, is moderate. Shorter-term drought is evolving more on the Western Caribbean, and that is the other thing. Sometimes you have different weather patterns, sub-patterns emerging between Western Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, Northern Caribbean, Southern Caribbean. According to CIMH, long-term drought is of immediate concern. ABC Islands, Barbados, Trinidad, and some of the Windward Islands. And the overall implications are that the transition from the dry to the wet season may end up hotter and wetter than normal in some cases. The part 2, because we have a switch. So we go January, basically, December to May. We look up in the sky and we're praying for rain, dry season. From June, we look up to the sky and we're praying for not too much rain, because then we go to hurricane season. So at no point in time is the Caribbean ever in a relaxed state of mind when considering the climate and our water utility. The predictions for this year are that we're going to have an above normal hurricane activity. 18 named storms, 9 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes. That, unfortunately, is going to be devastating for any island that is affected, and the entire region is going to feel it once any island or islands are affected. So that is a serious risk for us from a water supply standpoint, of course for the region as a whole, but for the water utility standpoints, it's something that we certainly have to try our best to plan and to reduce the impact of. We were hit here in Grenada very hard in 2004. Our pain was eased by the help we got from everyone, starting the day after. It's difficult to imagine getting hit now and your help being limited because everybody is under pressure at the same time. We just have to pray and hope that we go through the part 2 without major challenges. But as a serious issue for us from a water supply standpoint. Looking ahead, it's not business as usual. As you said, the economic implications are now starting to sink in. The tourism industry is not likely to rebound for this year at all. So each month, the reality of the situation gets clearer, the implications get clearer, and the economic damage seems to get deeper. The ideas to stimulate the economy are there. As I said, the governments are working, the countries are working, and the ability to keep some of our revenues going is going to be directly related to how these stimulus packages are rolled out, the extent to which the economies can be supported, and the extent to which people can have basic income for basic needs, including paying their water supply. We have to start looking at more automated functions. Certainly, it's a time for us to really reevaluate and accelerate our IT investments, our IT platform, our IT backbone, SCADA, AMR, AMI, the work order systems. It's clearly a time for us to look at those urgently needed technological investments that are going to improve our efficiency and certainly allow us to operate within the social distancing protocols, which are likely to be around in some form or another for a few months. Renewable energy options, we certainly have to look at those. Those of us that are net importers of energy, at least that is maybe one bright spark. The cost of energy has gone down significantly. So that certainly is going to at least give us one little help. I know for some of the countries like Trinidad and Guyana, and so that export energy, it's not a help for them, but that's what it's yin and the yang, right? That's the balancing. We have to identify alternative supply of treatment chemicals. We've been having some issues with the supply chains being interrupted, the shipping. So these are all things that we are grappling with and redefining and realigning and sort of setting new directions on at the moment. We, of course, are working with the Ministry of Finance and the Development Bank on short, medium, and long-term plans. I know the Caribbean Development Bank is trying to organize, well, not trying to, they're organizing a webinar like something like this for, I think it's next week, where the region's water sector can speak to the financial institutions, look at implications, look at areas of intervention, look at areas of assistance, etc. So this is all unfolding. It's all unfolding in real time. And I think we have to work day by day to adjust and move forward as the picture becomes clearer. Area of technology, I said we have to be prepared to facilitate more processes. Now, there's one little bright spark. That picture that you're seeing there was actually taken maybe 15 minutes ago. And it's encouraging that in light of the challenges, people are still turning out to pay their water bills. This we didn't expect. This is a lineup to pay water bills right outside my office now. We actually have to be consistently trying to manage the crowd and tell people to social distance. Now, of course, as with our structures, with many other structures, your domestic rates are significantly less than your commercial rates. So while we have a good response, and it's really commendable that people within their limited time, I don't know if it's that they're just trying to get out of the house and they're looking for things to do. So they have such limited options that coming and paying a bill is a chance to get out and feel normal again, but we'll accept that and be happy for it. But I could tell you, these lines have been going for the last week. Of course, we have had to make adjustments internally to ensure that the staff are not at risk. We've had to build physical barriers to ensure that the staff, because you're trying to have a maximum number of cashiers on, so that at least you keep the line moving and not have a big line up. but you can't have the caches being susceptible to contamination from each other and of course from the public. So we've built physical barriers that at least are there to protect the staff while dealing with this crowd. But as I said, the online bill payment process certainly is something we have to drive some more and get persons to use it more. And I think that is going to be a challenge for the entire region. But I am happy to report that at least persons are turning out to pay their water bills. We already have, and again, it's one of the things we have to drive, other ways for persons to pay bills, groceries back. You know, one of the things with this culture that I guess we still have to work on is people just like to have a receipt. So I can tell you, within that line you're seeing there are people with checks. We have been walking the lines every day, asking persons, if you have a check, just give us the check, we'll process it, and we'll mail the receipt. Persons are not coming out of the lines, but they're still turning up at the cashier with a check. Why? Because they want that piece of paper and they hand the receipt. So that is a cultural thing that has to be worked on, and it's all going to be part of the changes we're going to have to make going forward. Looking ahead, also, you know, the whole health and safety aspect of it has to be considered more seriously. There are additional costs attached to that. You know, how you position people, how many people can work at a time, the whole question of transport. You know, you could have sent a vehicle to transport 15 operators before. Now you can't have more than 5 in that vehicle, so you have to provide more transport to get the same number of operators that are needed, more cost. Water trucking certainly is one that is going to be with us, and especially for some of the islands that rely on it more in the dry season. To get away from that, we're going to have to make some capital investments in our distribution and transmission and distribution network. We must be prepared to work with the trade unions. I was actually on a call with my trade union just before starting this, looking at some aspects. And of course, we have to find a balance between what is ideal, what is possible, and what is fair in the circumstances. As I spoke of climate change before, the operational efficiencies, as I said, you know, and training and technology are key to operational efficiencies at this time. And it's something that we all are going to have to really redouble our efforts on. Preparedness, also with preparedness and response, but using technology to drive our operations is going to be a critical factor for us going forward. And of course, the protection of our utility workers is of paramount importance, those in the field, those in the office, because without a healthy workforce, we can't keep the supply going. And it's one of the things we've been paying quite a bit of attention to and trying to ensure that we are sort of on point with that. Those islands that have regulators have to work with their regulators when they got their rate structures in place, the assumptions, the conditions that were used as part of the business case, as part of the projections are going to be significantly different, and islands are going to have to go back and have discussions, make adjustments with their regulators to keep sustainable. We have to work with the governments to sort of get the stimulus packages going, make sure that the utility workers and their families are provided with help in certain areas that they need to keep the whole system working. And of course, NRW. Stuart spoke about the opportune time for NRW. That's correct, and I think it's one of the things that we all have to look at. So I thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions as they come up.